Hello everybody, this is Evan Williams and I'm going to give you a quick story. I promise this one will be shorter than the others. I wanted to talk about the importance of throwing yourself into an unknown situation, a situation in which you really don't even know what you're doing or how you're going to get out of it. But it's the best thing to do, especially if you do it consciously. And it happens to people a lot of times unconsciously. Life itself throws them into these very strange situations. All of a sudden they wake up and there they are in World War II fighting against some enemy, and all of these things are happening to them, and they return home a totally different person. They didn't really choose to do this, but it happened to them and it ended up changing them. There's also another way where you could throw yourself consciously into a very unknown situation just to see what will happen, even though you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. Yet you have trust, and by throwing yourself into the situation, you think, even if you have a little sense of adventure or a type of mythological imagination, you think, wow, well, no matter what, it's going to be quite interesting. And so I'll give you just two little examples. One is my great uncle. My great uncle, he could have been, no, actually it's my great uncle. This is way back when the Panama Canal was being built, and they were asking Americans to come down to Panama to help, dig out this canal. And so he decided, yeah, I'm going to go down there. And he went all the way down to Panama, and immediately he went to this big company and they asked him, do you know how to use these tractors? We're using these gigantic tractors to help dig out this huge canal. He's like, of course I know how to use these tractors. The dude had never even seen a tractor. He'd never been inside of a tractor. He had no idea. But he told them, yeah, I know how to use these, whatever, anything. I'll learn just like that. So he found somebody, the guy taught him in one day, and that's it. He spent the rest of the year digging out the Panama Canal. He made a very nice living. He fell in love with Central America. He ended up moving to Costa Rica. He found a Costa Rican wife, and he has a big family there. And he ended up living there very happily, all because he threw himself into this unknown situation where he had absolutely no idea what was going to happen. But he showed up and said, yeah, I can do this, and he did it. My grandfather's another one. Unconsciously, he was thrown into this great big situation. World War II, again, fighting the Germans. He didn't want to do it. He was drafted, and since he had a college education, he became an army officer, and he had to take the 761st Tank Battalion into France in order to fight the Germans. So there he is. He wakes up 3 months later, and he has a helmet on, and he's fighting the Germans. So he's in the dead middle of an adventure that he didn't really choose and he never thought about, but that ended up changing his life. And when he went back to the United States, he decided, I have to write a book about this. These things that happened to me were so interesting, I have to write about it. And by that time, he had already had 3 children, and the oldest was my father, and my father was always like, well, how are you going to write a book? You're a businessman. Businessmen don't really write books about literature or historical fiction. And my grandfather was like, well, I've never written one before, but I'm going to begin, and as I write it, I will teach myself how to write it. So what happened? He ended up publishing 2 books. One of them was sold throughout the United States. Readers really loved it. And afterwards, when I talked to him, before his death, I said, well, how did you write these books? You never had any training in writing or anything. And he said, well, I consciously just threw myself into a situation and I did not know what the outcome was going to be. But since I was so optimistic and determined to do this, I wrote the book, I got the books published, and it happened. I got a very, very beautiful result. And that's what I wanted to tell you guys today. Throw yourselves into an unknown situation, and even if you have a tiny little bit of mythological imagination, you'll have not only an amazing time in the unknown, but you'll wake up one morning and say, oh man, how did I end up here? Thanks for listening. I'll come back to you with some more stories.